I'm pretty excited about this conversation. As you know, I've been talking a little bit about the HELPER Act. I ran into that a couple of weeks ago, and I got that. Actually, I got an email from AIM, the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts, and they were talking about this HELPER Act, which was a proposal to create a special loan program for first responders. And a couple of people started mentioning to me, "Oh, Sam's great." I'm like, "Cool. I don't know who Sam is." And then somebody else mentioned, "Oh, Sam Royer is great." And I'm like, "Okay, I got to figure out who this guy is." And I tracked you down, found you on Facebook. Turns out you were already spying on me like a good Marine veteran. You're already doing recon on me. And then we started talking. And so Sam Royer is a loan officer, 26 years experience in the industry, and he is the brainchild behind the HELPER Act. And first of all, it's amazing that people like the Association of Independent Mortgage Experts gets behind it. We've seen other people talking about it, but what is it, and why is it even around? So my special guest today is Sam Royer, who started the HELPER Act, took the first steps on this journey with a childhood friend of yours. And so, Sam, thank you so much for joining me here today. I just want to take this opportunity, let people get to know you, kind of understand the story behind the HELPER Act, and let's maybe talk about how people can get involved and why they should get involved. So thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Scott. And it was fun reconning you. I did see some cool content. And honestly, we're going to talk about that a little bit, I'm sure, with how people are sharing content, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. So yeah, let's get after it.
Yeah, well, let's start from the beginning, and then let's end with what you can do, what you shouldn't do, and where we go from here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your story, your background, how the HELPER Act started, and about your journey, because it's been years.
Yeah, it's been working on this. So, I mean, I'll try and condense it because it is a pretty long story, whereas I've been fortunate to meet a lot of cool people throughout my walk in life. 26 years in lending. Prior to that, I served in the Marine Corps, if you couldn't tell by the flag. And I'm very proud of my service. Absolutely love my brothers and sisters in arms. And one of my biggest regrets in life is I didn't serve 20 years. Weirdly enough, I had a couple of appointments today. I got to talk about that. But the fact is that the thing that always I had a struggle with personally is that I could go get a VA loan. The home I'm sitting in right now, I bought with a VA home loan where I didn't have to put any money down. I don't have a monthly mortgage insurance. So my affordability is a lot better than others, right? So a couple of years ago, I was sitting and I was doing a loan for a police officer. I work with a lot of cops. Weirdly enough, my back wall is military. This front wall is like all law enforcement. But, I work with a lot of cops, and the guy was sitting there trying to qualify for a mortgage, and he couldn't. And it was interesting to me because he had a vest on, bulletproof vest. He had his gun, and he's sitting there and he's working all night, but he stopped in before a shift just to actually, try and get a mortgage, and he couldn't qualify. Mm-hmm. He couldn't qualify because he didn't have money. He had some money, but he didn't have enough, even for the 3.5% down. He had some student loans. Actually, he went to school for law enforcement, I think criminal justice, actually. And his debt ratio was a little bit off because of his student loans. So I felt like crap, to be honest with you. This guy was literally leaving to go work from like 8 to 4 in the morning, and he could die that night. I wear, bracelets and stuff, and I wear them in honor of officers that got killed in the line of duty. And I know this bill covers more than officers, but look at teachers in Texas. They just got killed, being teachers. I jokingly, I said this earlier today to somebody. I had a politician once ask me how teachers are heroes. And I have 5 children. My kids at one point were teenagers, all pretty much at the same time. And I said, put those teenagers, 30 of them in a room. Now you have cameras. Now you have everything else. What they have to go through. If I did wrong back in the day, the teacher would call my mom, and my mom would beat me. Not literally, but she would. I was scared of my mom. But now they're like, why are you bothering my kid? So the world is just different. Firefighters, I use this analogy a lot. The movie The Guardian. You know, I never understood the Coast Guard till I watched that movie, and you see Ashton Kutcher talking about, and him and Kevin Costner, how when the Navy's running out, when hurricanes hit, the Coast Guard's running in, right? Well, that's what firefighters do. I mean, we, common sense, will jump out a window because there's a fire, but they're climbing in the window, right?
Yeah.
So these men and women that serve, you know, in our communities, they don't get enough benefits like we do. And I've been out of the Marine Corps 20 plus years, but yet I can still get on an airplane before some of them, right? And I'm appreciative of it. And so are every other military member out there. But when I never served in a combat role, and I see these men and women every day, the man in front of me in my one picture, he literally, his name's Jay, you know, he had to go find a cop killer, and he did it. He found him, and that person, that bag is hopefully going to die one day. But that's a side note. Anyway, these individuals serve tirelessly. They don't get in their industries to become millionaires. They do to serve others. So now you think about a home, right? A home. The one thing they protect from robbers, the one thing they protect from fires, and the place that we're raising our kids to send them off to the educational institutions so that these individuals can teach them. Why don't we help them get a house more affordably? That's where the HELPER Act came about. And it was a couple years ago that it just kind of dawned on me. People say I'm crazy. Why not try and change the country and go get some legislation done?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're so right. And, you know, we're really talking about these professions, like you said, and when you said this to me the first time, I knew it, but it didn't really sink in. Nobody goes into those positions to get rich. Like they're not going to. There's a pay scale. It's published. They already know what their time is going to be worth over their period of time. These people are making sacrifices, quite frankly, to preserve our quality of life here in America. Yep. And they do it every day, and they put themselves in the line of fire. And you know, another thing,
they're hated in some cases, Scott.
Oh, we definitely know that. That's changing a little bit, but yeah, they're called the bad guys, and it's just, I mean, that's crazy to think of that. And one thing you mentioned also is like their families are sitting at home, and when they go off to work, like whoever's listening to this, when your spouse goes off to work, are you afraid they're not going to come home?
Yeah.
But the families of these first responders and even teachers, quite frankly, there's that fear. Like there's that fear that's a dangerous enough profession. And so, okay, so you started thinking about this, and you've kind of told me this story. You started talking to people, and they were like, "Okay, Sam, what's in it for you? You know, why are you doing this?" But kind of talk about where you started, because so the bill right now is reintroduced into both the House and the Senate in May of this year, right? Yeah. So less than 3 weeks ago, it was introduced, but this isn't the first time. It was already a bill in 2021, and that was the one that I found when the other bills hadn't hit the dockets yet. They weren't published on congress.gov. Yep. But like, why don't you start kind of back there and tell us a little bit about what the bill is and how it helps these first responders?
Well, it definitely started a long time ago where, weirdly enough, and call it politics or not, I'm friends with President Trump's private pilot. And I hit him up probably 4 or 5 years ago. I said, "Hey, any chance you give me a meeting with the president?" Now, forget your politics. You hate him, don't like him, whatever, right? It was cool. I got to meet this guy that happened to know the #1 guy at the time, right? Well, he's like, "Sam, you got to get me something in writing." Like, and I didn't know what that meant. I wasn't a scholar student, right? My teammate, George McElwee from Commonwealth Strategic Partners, we grew up together. He's kind of the co-author of this. He's the co-champion of this legislation, right? I had no clue what that meant. And I started knocking on George's door back then. This is 4 or 5 years ago. Well, then the next year I see Mr. Kimball, and he goes, "You got to get me some people." I didn't know what that meant. Congressmen and senators, right? Well, the third year I had to take a little time off for my family. And the fourth year, I actually approached a congressman who was a veteran, and he loved the concept. But I think actually at that point in time, actually another congressional office told me they thought that maybe I was doing it for a financial gain. And granted, look, I get a lot of cool PR, but at the end of the day, Scott, you and I, even you're gaining in the ranks of joining this team, right? We're going to be way in the back. We're going to be forgotten about because all the congressmen and senators are going to get the credit for doing this, right? But we get to high five our families and say, hey, we were part of that movement, right? So what happened was they thought I was doing it for financial gain. And the funny thing is, if you go to the National Sheriff's Conference, you go to the police conferences, I'm the only lender there. I'm the only guy, right? And cops, sheriffs will come up. Who the hell are you? What are you doing here? And I tell them that, I work with people in law enforcement and stuff. So, but when this bill passes, just like everybody's a VA expert, you're going to see massive law enforcement experts, firefighter experts, right? But so they thought I was doing it for financial gain. Well, long story short, this gentleman who was trying to get my marketing, he calls me, he says, hey man, I love your spirit. I know you're trying to get this bill thing going. I'm going shooting with a congressman. And this story is really impactful, guys. So I know this is going to be a long video, but when you're going out in the community, you have to know the backstory to understand the why, right? So this congressman from Jacksonville, Florida, 42 years in law enforcement, this man has served. I'm 47, so I was 5 years old when this guy started, right? And Congressman Rutherford, we go clay shooting. And as a Marine, I'm going to put myself down right now, but I hadn't picked up a shotgun in 20 years. And this guy, he literally missed one, and I missed like half. And this guy knocked him down, man. And he was awesome. And look, I didn't hit him up when we were going around the course. We had a great time just getting to know each other. Well, I finally said to him, I said, sir, and this is, look, if you want to start any kind of movement in the world, never ask them up front. It's just like dating. You don't ask, for anything other than, can we go on a date up front, right? Yep. Here you have a situation that I said, sir, can we do a Zoom call next week? 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. Now, I'm not his constituent, so he didn't have to meet with me, but he did. Well, we talked, and I said, I'm trying to do this. And he goes, listen, let me stop you. He said, probably like 90 seconds into this, he goes, 2 times I borrowed money from my parents, my first kid and my first house. He said, let's go. I'm on it, right? Wow. Well, this man, what I love about Congressman Rutherford, and I speak highly of him not only because of his service, but the fact that when you walk around the Capitol of the United States and you're walking with this man, nobody calls him congressman. And that, some people say, well, that's kind of an insult, right? It's like not calling a Marine a Marine. Everybody's like, hey, sheriff, hey, sheriff, hey, sheriff. Well, what it shows you is that everybody knows his true love are the people that serve, and not just in law enforcement. He loves firefighters. He loves teachers. He loves people that serve, right? That's why he continued. In Jacksonville, Florida, from my understanding, I could be completely wrong, you can only serve 2 terms as sheriff. He termed out. How else can I serve? He went and became a congressman, right? So I don't care, Republican or Democrat. I believe in this man, and he put his name on a bill. That then got more support. We had to get other congressional leaders. We actually got 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. It got introduced in the House. Now, weirdly enough, second part of the story for the Senate side, your senators, no matter where you are in the country, their staff sends out emails if you're a constituent. Hey, would you like to connect with your senator's office? So it's during COVID. I'm like, I'll write back. I wrote back. I said, hey, I kind of authored. When I say authored, let's clear that up. Visionary. I came up with an idea. I had a vision. Yep. I didn't write the bill. I'm not a legal beagle. I gave them all the bullet points of where VA works and how FHA will work. And we'll go into that in a little bit. But I gave them the data. The legal beagles in Washington basically laid out the schematics of the bill. Then they came back to George, myself, and many other integral people to say, how does this look? Then we might say, no, this or that, but they're the ones that wrote it. George and I are the visionaries, if you want to call it. So just clear that up. But so I sent to the senator's thing, I said, hey, Senator Rubio's office, I'd love to meet about this. Well, when I get on the call with the young lady, and I'm sorry I forgot her name, but she was super nice. She goes, why don't we know about this? I said, well, I'm telling you now, within like a week, Senator Rubio's office reaches out. They join. They get Senator Ossoff from Georgia, so Republican and Democrat. And in October of 2021, it's introduced in the Senate. So now you have a thing, which I'm learning as I go. It's called bicameral. That means that the House and the Senate have a bill that's pretty much the same, going in the same direction, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what it is. Now, Scott, you want to get into schematics of what it is?
Yeah, let's dig into it. Let's what did you ask for?
So very simple. VA, right? Many of you listening to this, VA is straightforward. 100% financing, no monthly mortgage insurance. You do have an upfront VA funding fee, unless you're service connected. FHA, right? Now, you can't give a VA loan to anybody that's not service, right?
Yep.
So the next second best thing is FHA, right? So FHA, what we did was we said we would like an FHA mortgage to not require a down payment, so no 3.5% down. We do not want them to have a monthly mortgage insurance. If you go back to that gentleman I sat with, he didn't have a lot of money and his monthly payment was higher, so he couldn't really afford it.
Yeah.
So we asked them to take those two things away. Now we realize look, I am a conservative Republican, if you want to call it. I really am a Republicrat. I vote for people, right? But now that's national, so I can never run for president. Not just kidding. But what happens is that the reason I just lost my train of thought because that was a stupid comment. But the fact is, so you have 100% financing, no monthly mortgage insurance. Now, FHA, we didn't want the FHA fund to dry up, right? You still had to put some kind of money aside in case of default. So there is an upfront mortgage insurance premium. So the old bill, we had it written in there that the premium would be 3.6%. However, now that we're in a new bill, which we'll talk about more in depth, the new bill does not have a clearly defined number yet because we wanted the FHA commissioner who the HUD and the chairman of Senate Banking, which we'll get into again, they both kind of came together and helped write the new bill. They didn't want that number to be set in stone in case it needed to go up or if it needed to go down.
Yeah.
So the other thing, the old bill, we had a situation that it was a one-time use program. However, now that we have a new bill, it is a first-time homebuyer program. So you could not have owned a house in the last 3 years. Now, being very transparent, that was tough for Congressman Rutherford and for myself, to be honest, because we wanted every single officer, every single firefighter to have this one-time opportunity. However, as many of you might know or not know, getting something through Washington in itself is tough. Yeah. So we had to take some kind of path to make sure this bill will actually pass. That gave a much better feeling to HUD, also Chairman Brown's office and others, to actually get this thing to get going. And we do believe more Republican support will come from that. So there was compromise, right? Both sides. You have Democrats and Republicans compromising. So the schematics, 100% financing, no monthly mortgage insurance, first-time home buyer. Pretty much all the other FHA rules apply other than one. You have to, it can only be used for a one-unit property. You can't buy a 2, 3, or 4-unit property. But other than that, it's just a straightforward FHA loan with that expanded criteria. And, sorry, I missed one. You have to have served at least 4 years. That was something that a lot of the national organizations liked. They didn't want somebody just to jump in to become a law enforcement officer or teacher, a year later suddenly go buy a house and then leave the profession.
In the 2021 bill, there was wording in there that the owner occupancy was going to be certified every year. Did that make it into the new bill?
Yeah, it's not something that they actually, I don't believe it did. I'll have to check into that. Maybe hit me with a curveball. I should have had that. That's something I think they actually took out, but I know that it is owner occupied. It's not, you can't do an investment or second home type of thing.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, when I saw this as a couple opportunities. So first of all, I'm a marketer. And I saw this as an opportunity. Well, I'm a marketer with a really big heart. I've done a lot of charity work. I try to donate my time and anything that I can do to especially causes, either veterans causes, or basically anything that I'm passionate about. And so when I saw it, I was like, this is a this is really, really important for a very important demographic in our society. It makes me feel good. It's the right thing to do. And quite frankly, it's going to be good for business, right? So loan officers, you're going to benefit from this thing. It's a new FHA loan. It doesn't have a ton of bells and whistles. So guess what? Even loan officers that don't have a ton of experience are going to be able to sell this loan because it doesn't have a bunch of crazy qualifying criteria. And so you're going to benefit from it. So why not invest in that community now and help pass the bill? And that's really where I wanted to go with this, is you're going to benefit from it. And it's an excuse for you to get out and get into these communities and start talking to these professionals and become an ambassador for the bill. And this was something that you kind of coined, is we're looking for ambassadors. This thing has been very, very grassroots. Now that AIM's kind of behind it, they're good. What George has been doing is really good, but a lot of it is just individuals out there, and we're just trying to build awareness. And what's going to get this bill passed is our senators and our congressmen, our representatives on the Hill, hearing the HELPER Act over and over again, right? And that's where the opportunity really lies here.
That is the key, Scott. And that's the thing, is that you, with everything in life, you have good and bad. You have situations, when I first saw your video, I was like, newsjacking. Oh, who's this guy, right? If somebody is going after this, which there are organizations already out there that are using this to try and bring in lead generation, you know what? Stop. Just do it for the right reason. The right reason is this. And Senator Rubio actually said this really well to me. It kind of hit me. He said, Sam, I'm so thankful for what you're doing. He said, just know, though, sometimes bills don't pass on their merit. That means that, there are good bills out there, but sometimes they don't go to distance because the wrong people stop it for the wrong reasons. This bill has the right reason. The right reason is the people. It's not to bring business in yet. Now, once the bill passes, there's actually a loan product. Go out, sell it, do your thing, right? But right now, what we need is ambassadors, like Scott said, people that have a true heart, not, hey, let's put a nice website up to explain it. Click here so you can get a mortgage through us. What we need is click here so it emails your senator and congressman to say that you're in support of this, because we want it to pass. We don't want to look like scumbags that just need business in the door. We want to look like people that actually care about the people we serve, with fighting for a product for them so that they can get a house more affordably, which is the number one goal. And then if your pockets overflow from that afterwards, have at it, guys. But we're going to lose traction if people pick this up and they're like, forget this guy. Who the hell is he? Who does he think he is? No, that's what hurts people. That's that 1% of the bad cops out there that make the other 99%. What people don't realize about police officers, and I've learned this through years, you want to know the people that hate that 1% of bad cops, the 99% of cops. They, trust me, would love to put those people in a room and just have at it, right? But that's what we don't want in our mortgage world. AIM, we are so thankful. You guys have been like such a positive influence. Katie, Brendan, so sorry about your dad, buddy. And listen, you guys have been a positive influence. Other organizations that are out there, you guys have been a positive influence. This message needs to resonate. This message needs to get to your soul. Now, you being an ambassador, if you're in California, Massachusetts, Florida, Nebraska, go out to your local fire department, knock on a door, tell them about it. Have those individuals reach out to their congressman. Because trust me, congressmen don't want to hear from me. They don't want to hear from you, Scott. They want to hear from their local constituents that say, hey, Congressman Smith, Congressman Jones, Congresswoman Judy, why aren't you on this bill yet? I'm a police officer. I'm a teacher. This could really help me, right? Those are the stories they need to hear. They don't need to hear from people like us. We're just the ones telling you the backstory so you can look them in the face. I can tell you, hands down, I've been in the room with some of the most powerful men and women, and it's intimidating sometimes. Trust me. It's not the most fun thing in the world. I thrive off it a little bit. George will joke and say, you do. But, to look at those men and women and be able to say with conviction, knowing that the men and women in your heart are who you're fighting for, you're not selling anything. It's like when people say, oh, the cop was mean that walked up to my thing because I was speeding. Your attitude is everything. And that attitude is what is going to get you over the hump. Yeah. And I've met with, Senator Manchin, Senator Romney for 5 seconds, Senator Rubio, Senator Scott. Actually, I had just looked up and he was standing right there. I mean, these men and women truly do love America. As much as the media will mess it all up and make them look like the devil, these men and women do. They want people, though. They want to hear from their people. So if you're in New Jersey, if you're in Mexico, if you're in Texas, especially because you got some powerful people there, call them. Just say, hey, can you join on this bill? It's that simple.
Yeah. And you know what, quite frankly, you can't sit there and talk about high interest rates and no inventory all the time. This is a tough market. Yeah. And this is a good opportunity. This is a good opportunity to change your perspective a little bit, really invest heavily in something that's going to help a lot of people. And someday it could help your business, but by not doing anything about it, you're hurting the chances of this thing helping our fellow Americans that are out there on the front lines. They're working, like you'd said this before when, one of the things that you had mentioned when we were talking about this bill is, when COVID hit, when there was this national thing and everything shut down, they were still out there working. Yeah. Like they still had to work. Like it didn't matter if, what was going on, if there was a global pandemic, they were still out there putting out fires, arresting bad guys, doing whatever they had to do. So like, this is the right thing to do for the right reasons. We're starting to get some traction. We've got great organizations like AIM that are trying to build awareness in the broker community. And quite frankly, some people are going to do it for selfish reasons. And you know what, at this point, all we need is we need the awareness. We need the ambassadors. We need people talking about it so that our representatives are hearing about it. AIM's got a really great way to write letters and do letter writing campaigns. Just reach out to your senators. Like you said, you can get, they want to hear from you. Like you're entitled to speak to your representative. Yep. And I haven't done this myself, but I know that if you go to Washington, D.C., you can make an appointment with them. And
you can walk in. You can walk in. Oh my gosh. Got some great stories about those. Challenge coins, man, they get you right in the door for number one. You're not paying for them either. But no, honestly, Scott, here's the thing. Originators, people are trying to find reasons to talk to people. And I get it.
Yes.
I'm going against what I'm saying now. But if you're doing it, if you go to a firehouse to let men and women know that, hey, just so you know, there's this bill out there. Can you guys call? Can you guys do something? Yeah. That's different than you going in, hey, guess what? There's a mortgage product that's coming out that, just call me and I could finance you. They should just know what you do because of your spirit of love of what you're doing, right? So the congressmen and senators, you can literally go to Washington now and walk and go into every single office. Now, you'll mostly meet with their staffers, but I'll tell you what, if we just spend a day having people go into everybody's office, giving a letter saying this, this, and this, and you're from those states, I mean, sooner or later, they have to listen. And that's literally what has happened with some people over time for us. Senator Casey from Pennsylvania isn't joined back on yet, but we've had sheriffs, chiefs of fire, just everybody barrage over like 60 days in a positive way, not negative. But sooner or later, they're going to be like, okay, we got to finally talk to these people. Well, they talk to us. They're like, yeah, why aren't we on this yet? And they join, right? Yeah. So it's something that if they don't know about it, you got to make them aware. Facebook, post on their Facebook. People, I had a congressman, this was funny. But I literally, on their Facebook, they talked about how they honor law enforcement. I wrote, can you please support this bill? Their office reached out to me, and I said, I would love to meet with you. Their office literally set up a meeting. And when I got on the Zoom call, I thought I'd be a staffer. It was a congressman. I was like, holy crap. And that was just posted on Facebook. Now, some people say it's a little bit stalkish, but what isn't anymore? You know, if you're doing it professionally, I got my hand slapped too. I had a senator, U.S. senator, where that individual posted about affordable housing. That individual has family that we know of that is in law enforcement and education. When I saw that, that bothered me. I wrote to the chief of staff. Now, George definitely knocked me out for this one. I wrote and I just professionally said, I don't understand how the senator posts about affordable housing. There's a bill about affordable housing and they're not on it yet. So George gets an email saying Sam was a little aggressive, but I wasn't. I was just calling it out, a spade, right? Don't talk about it and then not do anything about it. So you still have to hold politicians accountable too. Yeah. If they're going to talk the talk, then walk the walk. Now, Scott, one thing we didn't really talk about, let's hit on some of the reasons we've gotten why they've said no, even though nobody's really said no to us yet, which is weird. But one, some people think a program like this already exists. So we will get that. Officer will be like, doesn't something like this already exist? No, it does not. Okay. Two, some people think it's a VA. No, this is not for veterans. Veterans and military members already have a VA loan. This is for these individuals, right? They're two separate things. Three, some people will ask about the cost. Now, this is a fun one. We're in math, or we're in the mortgage industry. That's a math business, right? So, Scott, if the FHA or even the VA insures a mortgage, right, and you pay your monthly bill and you pay your mortgage payment, does the government have to pay any money? No. So if these people don't default, the government should be good. They're still collecting a fee every month or every one time up front of that, let's say 3%. And that goes into the kitty, right? So they're getting that MMI fund is growing, right? Which right now is very overfunded. But so if they don't pay their mortgage. Now, how many cops, teachers, firefighters, and EMTs do you know lost their jobs during the pandemic or economic downturn?
They don't. They're the last.
And what's the first bill most of them will pay?
Their house. Okay,
so Congressman or Senator, help me understand. Do you think these people aren't going to pay? Now, here's the one that really hits them home. So FHA exists since 1934. An FHA mortgage payment's here. We would like to give a mortgage where the payment's here. So it's cheaper. So I'm allowed to do this, but I can't do this? What's the problem? Right? But then they'll say, well, they're not putting money down. If you read into FHA, and I might be off a little bit here, FHA does their yearly report, the MMI fund report. It comes out in November, I believe it is. Well, if you look, do you know more than 40% of all FHA loans have some kind of down payment assistance? The biggest one from my research, and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right, is from gifts from like family members and stuff. Now, let's be real, mortgage people in the world. How many gifts are from parents that really those kids are probably paying them back? A lot, right? It probably is that case. The fact of the matter is that more than 40% of loans already have some kind of down payment assistance. Yeah. So here we're carving out a part of the world that truly serves us not to become millionaires. We're making it cheaper monthly and just not putting that 3.5% down. You really think they're suddenly going to foreclose? Congressman and Senator, let's really talk honesty here. With a normal FHA loan, the real down payment's 1.25% because they're financing the MI anyway. So you really think the government's going to suddenly go bankrupt because of this?
Well, and the VA loan has the lowest default rate out of any loan across the board.
And guess what? I own a company, and if I don't do a loan, I don't get paid. So I'm more risky than a cop, teacher, firefighter, and EMT. But VA has an unlimited loan amount as long as I can qualify, right? Where FHA, the FHA limits still will apply. So we're not over lending to people either. This isn't 2006, 7, or 8.
No.
So those are some of the negative things you might get. So you don't have to fear anything because there's answers to everything, and they're kind of easy. No, the default rate, we don't have a historical track record of this. It's called FHA, but we just have a different pool of people that normally don't lose their jobs. And if you look back at 2006 and 8, the reason that a lot of the stuff happened was straight up fraud or they lost their jobs. Job loss is probably one of the biggest reasons people go into financial hardship, right? These people don't lose their jobs. So
no, listen, there's every great reason in the world to support this and to get behind this. And, and quite honestly, I don't think that people aren't getting behind it because they've heard about it. I think they don't know about it.
yeah.
And we're kind of talking about it, but I mean, I talking to a lot of people, and like the first time they ever heard about it was when I started talking about it. And I just found out about it 2 weeks ago because AIM started talking about it.
Yep.
But it's been out there for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things like the LLPA.
Oh, wait, let's go back in time. We did. I got to give it up to George and his team. And I mean, I was part of that, but we had 89. Now there's 435 Congress men and women. Yep. We had 89 of them on the last bill. So that's, a little less than 25%. So that's not too bad, to be honest. And it was bipartisan.
You did really good work, but me as a person in the mortgage industry who this is going to directly affect or benefit in some way if it passes, I had never heard about it.
Yep.
And that's shame on me. But we don't always know about bills that are being proposed.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're trying to build awareness for this thing. No, this isn't a loan that's available, but it's a bill. Yeah. And 2024 is an election year, and politicians need wins, right? They just need goodwill in any way, shape, or form that they can get it, because they've been bickering and fighting for so long. Everybody is sick of it, right?
Scott, I got to cut in. You know who Aaron Judge is, right? The guy from the Yankees that can hit the ball really far.
I'm not a baseball fan. Okay. Sorry, but I'll take your word for it.
Joe Montana.
Yes.
He can throw football, right?
Yes.
This is like literally giving Joe Montana to a congressman or senator saying, go win the Super Bowl, right? Or any other, Tom Brady, right? This is literally the simplest win, because here's the funny thing. I'm going to get a little military, a little cop and law enforcement. You know how the Marines and the Navy, they kind of hit heads, the Army and the Navy, they get the Army-Navy game. Well, cops and firefighters, there's this like fun little banter they always have, right? Teachers sometimes have that banter. You normally don't get those groups all agreeing on something.
Yeah.
We have them all. The Fraternal Order of Police, the National Sheriffs, the I already said FOP, the IAFF, International Association of Firefighters, the NEA, the National Educators Association. All these groups are saying, we want this. We need this. We need retention. We need recruitment. This is a great tool. The mayors that we have over 150 mayors from last term. They love it because we're giving the mayors a benefit for their 3 out of the 4 categories, cops, firefighters, and EMTs. We're giving them a benefit that costs taxpayers no money unless somebody literally doesn't pay their bill, right? Then all those organizations are coming together. So your congressman or senator, this is like an underhand pitch to a pro baseball player saying, please don't hit it out of the park. And they just whack it, right? This is like literally Joe Montana throwing a ball to a wide open receiver. Catch it, score the touchdown. Like, this has zero hurt to the government unless they don't pay their bill. And look, I'm going to have analysts galore probably hit me up with numbers and stuff. And thank you, Scott, for putting the team together that is more data analytical than I am. But that's the thing. Like, seriously, in your heart, can you look at these people and say, are you really not going to pay your bill? But I'll give you an FHA mortgage. It's more expensive.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense. And, and along those lines, your Joe Montana story, like, this thing has legs. This thing has traction. We're going to get this thing across the finish line. Yeah. You might as well, and joining this team isn't going to cost you anything. It's going to give you an opportunity to go out and have conversations and build relationships. And like you said, you're not going out there trying to get loans because this loan doesn't exist. You're building relationships with your community, and it doesn't have to be, yes, it's congressmen and it's senators, but it's also your local mayor. It's also your governor, and because they have relationships as well. And this thing just works its way up the lines, talking to the local police chief. And quite frankly, once you listen, these communities are, I used to call them unionized. That's not really the right word for it, but they're tight-knit communities. Firefighters and police officers hang out with firefighters and police officers. So once you get in there and you start building those relationships, that news is going to be able to spread fast. And if you can give them the education, the information, and the resources and the instructions on how to go out and make sure that they can push this thing so that this benefit is available to them in the future. We don't know when it's going to be in the future. We don't know when it's going to pass. And then we don't know when HUD's going to make whatever modifications and roll it out so that it's available to us.
Wait, real quick, Scott. The cool thing about this, HUD actually had technical assistance with Chairman Brown's office to get this bill put together.
So they're already aware of it, and they're already on board. They're just waiting for enough people to tell them go.
There will be definitely hearings and things like that. You know, the one question or thing you said. So what will happen is once this bill gets enough people behind it, like Chairman Brown, right? He's the head of Senate banking. He will bring it to his committee. We already have most of his committee on board on the Democratic side. We need more Republicans. But after it goes out of committee, then it goes to the full Senate where you need the 50 people to vote for it. We already have Republicans on that side. If all the Democrats go on it, I don't care who it is. As long as we get it passed, it'll pass the Senate. The House side, we're going to have a little bit more struggle because some of the leadership in House Financial Services, if you're in North Carolina, Patrick McHenry is a very important congressman. We need to get on board. He is the head of financial services. From my understanding, I don't know the man personally, he does not like government programs. We need to get with him and explain to him this is why it's not a bad thing. Now, from my understanding, the last bill versus this bill, I believe they will be more in favor of this. So we have to get letters, calls, support to his office because he oversees that committee. Whereas that committee, then if it goes out of his committee, then it goes for the full House. And we're pretty sure the House should be pretty positive on this. So a lot of ground games still to go.
Yeah, a lot of ground games. So if you're a mortgage broker and you're part of AIM, take advantage of AIM's backpack. They have letter writing campaigns. All you do is you push a button and it goes out to all your representatives. The letter's pre-written. If you're listening to this, drop us a comment. I'm also going to put the link to that YouTube video of Rutherford and Marco Rubio talking about the importance of this bill. Reach out to us if you want to be an ambassador, if you want to help with this, if you've got a voice, if you've got influence and you want to get behind this, reach out to us. Reach out to us in the comment thread. Find Samurai on Facebook. I stalked down Sam on Facebook and I found him. You can find us very, very easily. Ask us how you can get involved. This is very, very grassroots, and it's going to take a village. It's going to take a lot of us. And this is, yes, we want more bigger people like associations, like AIM associations, but this is going to be done. This started as a grassroots movement, and it's going to get major legs as a grassroots movement. It's easier to dismiss one big association or organization and say, oh yeah, they want this for whatever. But when their constituents are coming out of the woodwork from all over the place, and they just keep getting letters from all corners of their constituency, all asking for the same thing, it's going to get on their radar. And I never want to assume that they're not behind it. I want to assume most of the time that they don't know about it yet. And if they did hear about it, they don't understand it. Yeah. So that's something that we can really do. You have the power and the control to do that just by going out and building relationships and trying to join Sam's mission to just try to help the country in
our mission, Scott.
Small way, any way that we can. And it's as simple as this: having this conversation, talking about it, building awareness, and pointing people in the right direction. And it's very, very simple. So,
and if you need us, Scott, the other thing, if some people don't feel comfortable talking or doing a Zoom with a congressional office, we have a whole team that'll jump on. And look, we will make you look like a superstar. the end of the day, if you could set up those meetings or get a contact to have that meeting, again, this is Congress and the Senate, not your state representatives. Now, if you know a state representative, that person might have a way into your federal person, like your congressman or senator. So just know, if you don't feel comfortable, I'll jump on a call. Scott will jump on a call. George will jump on a call. We're all here to serve.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We will help any way we possibly can. We just need the connections, and we just need you out there talking about it.
Yep.
All right. You have anything to end with, or that it feels like we covered this thing A to Z pretty well?
Just honestly, if you're out there and you watch this whole thing, thank you. You know, at the end of the day, when you can close your eyes and go to bed and sleep at night, knowing that you went out and did something for people that do serve like they do, it's one of those things that it's the greatest feeling in the world. So,
yeah, no, I completely agree. And, you know, I appreciate you hearing me out and talking with me and allowing me to join you in this fight. Whatever little way that I can contribute. If everybody recognizes the value of this movement and helps in their own little way, no matter, there is no effort that's too small.
yeah.
Any effort at all that you can put in cumulatively, we're making a difference, and we have an opportunity to make real change and help real people that, quite frankly, deserve it.
Yeah. And shout out again, AIM. Thank you so much for making this more presence known throughout the country, because without you, you know, we wouldn't be, Scott and I might not even met. You never know.
No, we probably wouldn't have. So I'm super appreciative for that. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Again, reach out to us. We're going to help you. We're going to do anything you can. We're going to help you, give you the resources, what to say. We're going to do whatever we can do to support you. This is a good cause. Let's get behind it. And we'll see everybody next time.
Yep. See you later. Thanks, Scott.